Do you always feel running out of time during examination? And most of the time, you experience mental block. Then, in this video, I will teach you the magic formula. Stay tuned!
Hello classmates. I am V-Mate, your virtual classmate. If you are new to my channel, please subscribe and smash the notification bell next to it. Don't forget to like, comment and share.
So, we are now in the part 2 of cash and cash equivalents. If you have not seen the part 1 video, it is recommended to watch it first before proceeding in this video, so you can follow the discussion. For this video, this will be the focus. Let's begin. To figure out the different classification of checks, I created 4 scenes as follows: drawing, recording, delivery, and encashment. Undelivered check. The check is said to be undelivered when it has been drawn, recorded, but not yet delivered to the payee. Therefore, there is no payment of obligation because the check remains under the company's control and may be cancelled anytime. Post-dated check delivered. The check is classified post-dated when it has been drawn, recorded, and given to the payee, but dated after balance sheet date. Similar to undelivered check, post-dated check does not eliminate the obligation because there is no payment of obligation until the check is presented to the bank for encashment. Stale check. Stale check is a long outstanding check that is drawn, recorded, and delivered to the payee but not presented to the bank for encashment or deposit by the payee within the reasonable time. In banking practice, check becomes stale when not encashed within 6 months, but of course, the company policy still matters. Again, there is no payment of obligation until the check is presented to the bank for encashment or deposit. Note: in all cases, there is no payment of obligation. Therefore, the adjusting entry would be debit to cash and credit to payable account. In effect, post-dated check, undelivered check, and stale check increase cash and payable account. Imprest system. It is a system of control of cash which requires that all receipts should be deposited intact and all payments should be made by means of check. But there are instances where issuance of check is impractical and inconvenient, such as when small amounts are paid. Therefore, it is necessary to establish a petty cash fund. Petty cash fund is money set aside to pay small expenses. There are 2 methods for handling petty cash fund, namely Imprest fund system and Fluctuating fund system. Under Imprest fund system, the processes are as follows: establishment of fund, payment of expenses, replenishment, adjustment, and reversal. For establishment of fund, the check is drawn and given to the cash custodian, who will be responsible for handling of petty cash fund. In this process, the entry is debit, petty cash fund, credit, cash and bank. The next process is payment of expenses. Here, there is no formal entry is made. The petty cash custodian generally requires a signed petty cash voucher for such payment and simply prepare a memorandum entry in the petty cash journal. Replenishment of fund. After some payment and when the petty cash fund runs low of balance, another check is drawn to replenish or refill the fund. The amount of replenishment is usually equal to the amount of disbursements. The entry is debit expenses, credit cash and bank. Note: under Imprest fund system, only at the time of replenishment, the expenses are recorded. And also, the petty cash balance remains always the same because it is being replenished for the same amount of disbursement. At the end of the reporting period, it is necessary to adjust the petty cash account in order to state the correct balance. The adjusting entry is debit expenses, credit petty cash fund. At the beginning of the next period, the adjustment made should be reversed so that the normal replenishment procedure may be followed. The entry is debit petty cash fund, credit expenses. For illustration, on December 1, 2020, X company established an Imprest fund system of $1,000. The entry is debit petty cash fund for $1,000 and credit cash in bank $1,000. On December 30, 2020, the fund is replenished. The petty cash items include the following. The entry is debit meals $500, debit taxi fare $300, and credit cash in bank $800. Note: only at the time of replenishment, the expenses are recorded. Also, the amount of replenishment is always equal to the amount of disbursements. At this point, the balance of petty cash remains $1,000. On December 31, 2020, if the fund is not replenished, the adjusting entry to state the correct balance of petty cash fund is as follows. Debit meals $500, debit taxi fare $300, and credit petty cash fund $800. At this point, the petty cash balance is correctly stated. On January 1, 2021, the adjustment made on December 31, 2020 should be reversed. So the entry would be debit petty cash fund $800, credit meals $500, and credit taxi fare $300. The reversing entry is necessary to normalize the process. On January 10, 2021, the fund is replenished and increased to $2,000. The entry is debit petty cash fund $1,000, debit meals $600, debit taxi fare $300, and credit cash in bank $1,900. Note: unlike the replenishment on December 30, 2020, the replenishment on January 10 include a debit to petty cash fund of $1,000. This is because the petty cash fund is increased. But if the petty cash fund is decreased, the entry includes a credit to petty cash fund of X amount. Fluctuating fund system. This is more simple and straightforward in comparison with Imprest fund system. Processes are establishment of fund, payment of expenses, and replenishment. The entry for establishment of fund is similar to Imprest fund system, debit petty cash fund, and credit cash in bank. Next is payment of expenses. Unlike Imprest fund system, under fluctuating fund system, the expenses are recorded immediately and the petty cash fund is updated. The entry is debit expenses, credit petty cash fund. Replenishment of fund. The entry is debit petty cash fund, credit cash in bank. Note: the entry is similar to establishment of fund, and the replenishment is not always equal to disbursements. Remember, there is no adjustment and reversal. Petty cash fund always change or fluctuate. For illustration, on December 1, 2020, X company established an Imprest fund system of $1,000. The entry is debit petty cash fund $1,000 and credit cash in bank $1,000. On December 20, 2020, expenses are paid. Disbursements include the following. The entry is debit meals $500, debit taxi fare $300, credit petty cash fund $800. At this point, the petty cash balance is correctly stated at $200. On December 21, 2020, the company issued a check for $1,000. The entry is debit petty cash fund $1,000, credit cash in bank $1,000. As you can notice, the petty cash balance is now $1,200. The balance always fluctuates. On December 31, 2020, there is no adjusting entry because the balance is always updated. Therefore, on January 1, 2021, there is no reversal entry. To summarize, here is the quick comparison. As promised, Here is the magic formula that will help you to easily clear out each question related to cash and cash equivalents. Cash in bank. Make sure it is unrestricted. Sample items are payroll account, current account, and savings account. If the problem is silent, include in cash, because without explicit restriction, cash in bank is generally available for immediate use. Even though it is restricted, but the related loan is due in 12 months or less after the balance sheet date, then include in cash. Cash on hand. Sample items are undeposited collections, petty cash currency, and money order. Undelivered check to the payee. It should be reverted back to payable account and added back to cash balance per book because there is no payment of obligation until the check is presented to the bank for encashment. Post-dated check to the supplier. Similar to undelivered check, it should be reverted back to payable account and added back to cash balance per book. Be careful. If the given cash balance is as per bank statement, then ignore both undelivered check and post-dated check to the payee. Because since both checks are not yet presented to the bank, therefore they are not yet deducted from the bank records. In this case, ignore. The treatment of post-dated check differs if the check is from the customer, meaning it is the company who received it. Instead of adding it back as mentioned earlier, it should be deducted back from the cash balance per book and reverted back to receivable account. Note, the treatment differs depending on who issues the check, so be careful of this. Check with insufficient fund. It should be reverted back to receivable account and deducted back from the cash balance per book. If the problem says that the post-dated check and the check with insufficient fund from the customer are not yet included in the cash on hand, then both checks should be ignored. Compensating balance. Deduct from cash if legally restricted, otherwise ignore. Outstanding check. Deduct from cash balance per bank statement. But if the given data of cash balance is as per book, then ignore. Cash equivalents. All of the securities should be acquired 3 months or less before maturity. Remember, the 3 months rule starts from acquisition date. There you have it! We have just completed the cash and cash equivalents topic. I prepared a short quiz in the part 3 video. If you are confident, you may proceed. Otherwise, please review the part 1 and part 2 of the cash and cash equivalents before taking the short quiz. See you there!
If this video is helpful for you, please support my channel, share to your friends and spread the knowledge. Thank you for watching.